Hi, today I'm tasting what I hope will be a pretty classic Chateauneuf du Pape. So we're in the south of France, we're around Avignon, relatively warm producing area, and this is Font de Michel's Chateauneuf du Pape 2015. So they do make premium cuvées, but this is their standard Chateauneuf du Pape. The Gonnet family have lived in this area since they trace their ancestry back to about 1600. They built the farmhouse where their winery operations are now based in 1880, but it wasn't until 1950 that the domain was established by Etienne Gonnet. Today it's run by his grandsons, two cousins, Bertrand and Guillaume, and they've expanded the operation a little. They have about 20 hectares of vines in an area of the Côtes du Rhône, and they also have a négociant operation to sell their wines and other local wines. The winery's vineyards are planted fairly classically. They've got, I think, 10 of the 13 grape varieties that you can use for Chateauneuf du Pape. This only has 3 of those in there, but obviously they have grape varieties for a white Chateauneuf du Pape as well, and put some of the other varieties into some of their other cuvées. The style of the winery is to destem the wines. They don't believe in too much oak influence there. They vinify the varieties separately using cement fermenters, concrete fermenters, and aging is in older large oak for about 18 months normally, prior to blending and bottling. Quite classic warm region Chateauneuf du Pape. Predominantly, this particular wine is about 65% Grenache with 15% of Syrah and Mourvèdre, and the Syrah and Mourvèdre adding some structure, acidity, and ageability to the softer, richer, more alcoholic wine from the Grenache. This particular wine says it's 14.5% alcohol, so relatively ripe. So let's have a look at it and see what we make of it. First thing to say, medium depth of colour, and the colour, while the rim is a sort of ruby red, there's quite a sort of a bricky red at the rim, and for a fair way inwards as well. So there's some development to the colour, you'd have to say. The wine throws fairly heavy tears in the glass. Although they're not stained tears, they're quite clear there. Let's have a look at the aromas. Gosh, the aromas are very developed. You have an incredibly ripe sort of raisin sultana, sort of figgy note over delicate sort of stewed plum to almost to rhubarb sort of red fruit notes. It is the development that overcomes things. There are also meaty notes, and there's a slight hint of pepper right at the very end, but you have to go looking for that. It's this sort of very ripe, very developed fruit that's to the fore on the nose. Let's have a taste, shall we? The wine's texture is smooth. It's relatively full-bodied and rich. It's got a warm alcohol roundness to it as well. There are touches of spice there as well. Quite soft acidity. Red fruit, as I say, more to that sort of stewed prune sort of note, a plum to prune sort of note. Sorry, but there is some of that sort of slight pruny development, more so than the necessarily the sultanery ripeness that you were getting on the nose. There's quite a sort of a drying mid-palate, and there are sort of meaty notes as well, and there's a dusting of spice, a little pepperiness sort of running down the middle there, which I suppose is piqued up by the warmth of the alcohol. The structure, I suppose the alcohol is giving it a sort of slightly peppery, grainy, cedary note, and it is sort of drying and savoury, but it's not particularly gripping or astringent. sorry, those sort of sound to be slightly contrasting, but it's, you know, there's still a richness of fruit, and that sort of slightly sort of figgy sultane roundness right to the finish. There's a depth there. The producer's notes suggest that this is a wine that could be aged until 2030. I'm not sure that I would do that, to be honest. I mean, firstly because it's perfectly drinkable now, but the flavours are only going to get more and more developed, and you're going to get, I suppose, some of what it's starting to show now is the beginning of a slight forest floor note development. And I think unless you sort of like that really heavily developed style, the fruit, the actual red fruit is quite restrained now, and I don't think that's going to develop a lot further. Very lovely texture and flavour, and it lasts nicely now, but I'm not sure it's a wine for long aging. So that is Chateauneuf du Pape Font de Michelle 2015. Thank you very much for joining us. Do watch again. Bye now.